on those technical issues. Welcome to the July Parks, Recreation, Waterfront, and Resiliency Committee meeting. We have a light agenda, so hopefully we can get through this fairly quickly. But first, we're going to start off with the approval of last month's minutes. If there were no objections, they are deemed approved. So I'm going to deem them approved. Next up, we are going to have a roll call.
Trevor Muller.
Present.
Diane Lake. Present. Ryan Gillum, present. David Adams.
Present.
August Castelli. Carlin Chan.
Present.
Catherine Freed. Valentina Jones.
Present.
Nancy Kong.
Present.
Daisy Paez.
Present.
Daniel Tena.
Present.
Zachary Thomas.
Yeah.
Josephine Velez.
Yeah.
Kay Webster.
Present.
Rod Ramanian. Tal Roded. Okay.
Thank you. Next up, we're going to have the Parks Manager update. For the purposes of this particular agenda item, we're going to leave the questions for the committee members. I'm going to turn the Zoom camera over, and we're going to ask for any of the presenters to speak up so that the folks online can hear you also.
Why don't you just sit here?
No, it's really
I like to present, project when I speak. No pressure, Kay, right? All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Luke Alicea. I'm the District 3 Manager for Parks. For this update, the big thing is we had July 4th, obviously, had a very large impact to our parks. So apologies if anything was trashed or took a little bit longer to get to. But it was probably the highest volume day that we'll have for the whole year. So I believe we, at this point, have hit all of the methods, but I will be around after the meeting if there's anything that we haven't hit at this point. On a similar note, just to talk about lawns really quickly, because I've had a few inquiries about mowing, cutting in general. Some of the things for lawn care that we need to be mindful of is if it's above 90 degrees, we shouldn't mow because it will damage the lawn. And then if it rains, we shouldn't mow because it'll damage the lawn. In addition to that, there's only certain staff that we really want to be on the mowers because of just the skill involved. It actually is harder than, just go mow the lawn. So one of the decisions I think we're making right now, at least for District 3, is if there's any risk to damaging the lawn, I'd rather it be a little overgrown than do it wrong and fry it for the long term. So that may lead to longer lawns than are ideal, but I really want to make sure that we have the right person doing it with the right temperature, no rain, etc. I know you guys appreciate some of the under the hood stuff of what's going on, and I just wanted to explain that. We also recently did our East River Park plumbing kind of handover where we got some of the lessons on how to work the systems. One of the interesting things that I think the community board might appreciate is part of that was the irrigation system. It might be the most advanced irrigation system that Parks has. It was very high tech. I'm still learning it all, but it's something you can use on your phone. I was just very impressed with what is watering that new park. And I thought you guys would appreciate that.
We do.
Which park?
In New East River Park. And then just the next challenge for East River Park is we've been looking at the lawns, all of the horticultural areas. Right now, they're still tame. I know in another month or two, they're going to start exploding out. And I know we're going to start looking to the community, especially Lessick, but everyone in general, in terms of that hort bed care, because I know it's going to turn into Jurassic Park if it's not actively managed over the next 2 months. And then just on a kind of capital note, so Field 6 in East River Park was closed as of July 1st. That was brought up by DDC during the last meeting, but just wanted to make sure everyone knew. And then Little Flower Playground, the entire thing is now under capital. It will come out in June of 2026. And that's all I have for my update.
We're going to limit the committee meetings. Raise your hand first. Sorry, no, I'm going to go start with Val and I'll work my way this way. I'm gonna leave the can't resume on Luke, and if Luke,
It's working now. But let me just I have to mute this and turn the other speakers on. Yeah, so people can't.
so we're gonna go back to use the computer. We understand that you can't hear us with the microphones above, so we're gonna stick with this for now. And if the microphones are working, we'll switch back. So, can you hear us now? Okay, so we're gonna continue. Luke, if you can briefly repeat the question in case folks need to hear it. So, Val.
Okay. In terms of, East Side Coastal Resiliency or East River Park, one of the things that people keep asking is what's happening in terms of, the amphitheater. Folks seem to not trust that that's going to happen.
Okay, so Val asked about the state of the amphitheater in the new section of East River Park. So I'll start by just saying DDC fundamentally has the control of what is happening based on their construction timeline, but I do pay attention to it, so I'll give you the best knowledge that I have. So it will be in the next section of opening, which is slated for potentially September. And that's when of this year, so in 2 months, theoretically. The clamshell of the amphitheater will not be installed at that time, but the stage will be available and the seating areas will also be available.
Okay. And then when you talk about Little Flower Park, which is the park that's there at LaGuardia, I have to say that in terms of community, that's a community that likes, the barbecue area. They like the area where you play cards, cause I saw those tables like pushed to the side, the tables, so just kind of want to know in terms of the tables that you can play cards and, barbecue, cause this neighborhood likes barbecue.
Yeah, I know it is. So Val was asking about Little Flower Playground, which is currently closed and will be reopened in June of 2026. It's really unfortunate, there's never a good time to close. I'm gonna get Susan a copy of the rendering or the plan. It would have went through the community board, but it might have been years ago. So I understand that it might be worth refreshing everyone's memory. But my understanding is that it has very similar features, right? Like maybe an updated playground, but a playground in the same location. But I'll get you that. I don't know off the top of my head what's in place.
In the card plan.
All right, thank you.
And then in terms of, what's this park right by me? Water in Jackson. I have to give you all good credit that the bolsters are still there. But what is that? Park is that? Corliss Hook Park. And that I have to say July 4th went over, no problem. So thank you for leaving the bolsters there and for, the safety of the bolsters. That's it.
Thank you. Raise a hand. I'm gonna start from closest. Diana.
I know that you've been asked to, for explanations of like park and I think East River Park makes sure for you to close at 3 o'clock on 4th of July. And I'm just wondering if you want to share some of the information that you shared with the advisory group and all, to fill people in on what the thing is behind that.
Absolutely. So the question was, well, the background, we had closed the new section of East River Park and Pier 42 at 3 p.m. for the 4th of July, and just a desire to explain what the thinking of the city was. So for East River Park specifically, there was a concern about the one-way in and one-way out, and that potentially causing an issue if thousands of people were to come in at the same time. I can't speak for the future. And also this decision is made, above me, but I think that when it's connected to Pier 42 via the Esplanade and through Corlier's Hook, through the new bridge that will be open also potentially in September, that would alleviate that concern. There's also the lack of restrooms, which could lead to people, urinating, et cetera, in the horticultural areas. So kind of for both of those parks, the determination was made that the fireworks viewing wasn't really great from those sections. The recommended place to go was the elevated section of the FDR that the city closed to cars to open up to people. And there was a fear that large quantities of people, potentially not from the community, would fill in these two parks, potentially damage it for the long term. And so it was, wow, it sucks. And there was a lot of people who wanted to grill and to hang out in those parks for the 4th. It was to protect it for CB3 for the following year. But it's still acknowledged that it's a hardship. That was the thinking.
I'm gonna follow up on Diane's, because what happened is exactly what you were talking about, but that happened at Pier 35 and 36 in the Esplanade, where you had thousands of people crowding into one area that did not have a bathroom, that did not have proper egress in and out because of the construction. But you sent those thousands of people over to Pier 35 and 36, with some people climbing the roof of the plant wall and permanently damaging that, which will never be fixed because I know it's going to be very difficult to fix. So I understand the closing of 42 and East River Park, but using that same logic, and I don't like to see places closed. 35 and 36 should have been closed because 35 is permanently damaged forever. And I don't see any way anyone's gonna fix it. So I just want to make that comment out there because those places took a beating, just to let you know. Sorry, Dan.
My other question was about pools. Since you were here last month, we noticed that the adult lap swimming is back at Handfish. That's great. But in terms of lifeguard staffing, we're noticing that there are still sometimes not closures of the pools, but closures of part of the pool. So the area of the pool that's available to the public is reduced to compensate for lifeguard staffing shortages. And just wondering if you have any updates on how things are looking for the rest of the summer.
I don't, unfortunately. Oh, sorry. The question was connected to pools in general and lifeguard staffing, and specifically at Hamfish, there were some instances where sections of the pool had to be closed because there weren't enough lifeguards on duty. I don't have an answer to that, and I apologize about that. I know that it's been historically challenging to hire lifeguards, but I can't speak right now to if there's any kind of initiative to get additional lifeguards for this season to ensure that the full pool is open the whole time. I'll ask our pool manager to see if they anticipate additional hirings.
Thanks.
Look, I just wanted to follow up on the email I sent last month about the leveling the treatments across from Columbus Park and then potential plants or trees from Monroe.
So I think for specific,
Repeat the question.
the question was about some specific tree pits that are by Columbus Park, and filling in ones that were there's no trees in them now. So just in general, for kind of our tree policy for street trees, I should say, the general rule right now is that Parks is not doing specific, we're gonna solve this tree or that tree. They're going top to bottom, just addressing it holistically to avoid the people pushing for one over the other when there's needs throughout the city. But I'll have to follow up about the specific thing. We can talk right after this meeting about the specific ask, because I know yours was unique compared to just.
I think, Teresa's gonna look for potentially random plants, leftover plants that we could, replace the dead trees. It's plant.
Okay. Right.
Qualify.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Sean.
All right, thank you. All right, so that will end our park manager update. And I'm gonna ask Susan about, I know Val, you want to speak on the Baruch Bathhouse, but you want to speak as the Lower East Side Power Partnership. So that's okay.
Well, do you want to do it after usually do it after the presentation, don't you?
But do you want to do it now or before the presentation?
I guess I can. Sure.
But it's just, well,
Karen, I'll-
so committee member. No,
Huh?
it's just this is anyone can speak in a 2-minute session, so he's technically jumping out of the meeting and speaking as a person for another group.
for an answer.
Right, okay. All right, so my name is Valentina Jones, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Lower East Side Power Partnership about the Baruch Bathhouse. One of the things that was discussed at our last meeting was that there was an article about the previous experience, and that part of the reason for the previous bid choice was experience. And so one of the things that we liked was that in terms of the White House Working Group, Henry Street Settlement, which has experience with children, teenagers, adults, older people, et cetera, is one of the groups listed on the bottom of the paper about the White House Working Group. Somebody else also said it wasn't clearly understood that the bathhouse would be demolished. And another question that was raised was the landmark status of the bathhouse. And that was really about much of what was said at the meeting. So just bringing it in, you can respond, I guess, in part of your presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, and thank you for being under 2 minutes.
Me too.
All right, so next up, we will have the presentation on the status of the Baruch Bathhouse requests for expressions of interest. I'm going to ask you to share your screen. Minimize some of this.
Here. Or should I come?
I need to ask the folks online, but we need to hear you too.
Okay.
Say again. I think it's gonna be best if you, I know, but she's asking because she's speaking that microphone. And the presentation is on that screen for the folks here. For the folks online, you should be able to see the presentation. If you want to speak into your computer and see if they can hear you.
All right, now it's speaking. I'm hoping someone can hear me online.
If you can hear her online, can you please raise your hand? They can hear you online.
Okay, great.
It's a little-
Great, we've got some hands. Am I good to go, Trevor?
Yes, you are.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Mallory Mrozinski. I am the Deputy Chief of Staff for Business Development and Special Events at New York City Parks. I'm also acting as project manager on our potential concession solicitation for the bathhouse site at Baruch Playground. We are coming back because we recently received a response to a request for expressions of interest at the site, and we are here to communicate what that response entailed.
All right, can they just ask you to come up front?
No problem. Is this better?
Yes.
All right. We were here last month to give a presentation. We're back for, more of the same. We've pretty continually collaborated with the community board on this project for the last few years. So we wanted to come back and give an update as soon as we had a response to the RFEI come back. So I'll go over a little bit of timeline. What is an RFEI? Go through the proposal we received and open the floor to questions if there are any. We have been coming to CB3 since 2018. Oh, a monkey. Mine says I'm still sharing. Okay. I would love that though. That must be a Zoom.
Okay, restart.
Okay. I'll pick up where I left off with a timeline. We've been coming to CB3 since spring 2018 to talk about the potential of activating this site with a concession. We issued an RFEI for the first time fall 2018. An RFEI is the request for expressions of interest. We then communicated with the community board and some members from the neighborhood to host a community task force to not only discuss what came back from that initial RFEI, but to talk about what might be included in an RFP. The conversation has continued over the last couple of years. In 2020, we did put out an RFP. We had a highest rated proposer who unfortunately was not able to secure the funding that was envisioned for the project and could not move forward. When we shared that with the community board, we were asked to reissue an RFEI, which we did this spring. Now we're here to talk about the response we received to that RFEI. Like I said, an RFEI is a request for expressions of interest. It's different from an RFP, a request for proposals, because a request for proposals results in a license agreement. An RFEI is more where we open the suggestion box, see what the business community envisions for the site, what people think is possible. It's also an opportunity for anyone, even non-business owners, to submit their ideas for the site. You'll see the graphic on the right is Baruch Playground. The large green area is under the care of New York City Parks. The yellow is the project area. So that is what was up for consideration in the RFEI solicitation. The red box, the smallest one, is the bathhouse footprint. Here's the proposal we received. I'll go through some details and include some graphics from the response we got. I'll just note that the respondents are a team of New Yorkers who have professional background in construction and more of a personal interest in padel. That's the passion for the sport that they'd like to see expanded in New York City. Padel is a racket sport, similar to squash, similar to pickleball. It's a high energy version of squash that can be played off of the walls or the ceiling. Really interesting. I'd encourage you to look it up online. It's very fast paced, very energetic. So all in all, the respondents are people that we would deem to be reasonably qualified were we to move forward with another solicitation here. But this is the idea that they've given for the site. It would be a year-round facility, open every day with affordable court time, programming, and different amenities like an outdoor gym, a food court, a garden area. And when the construction was complete, we'd see a site plan like the one on the right with 7 padel courts and 2 pickleball courts. I'll note that this response did envision demolishing the bathhouse structure and in its place erecting an event space amphitheater style for community use, community gatherings, events, programming, and the other structure that would be on site, not necessarily in its place, but again within the footprint would be a pro shop with lockers that would more than double lockers and bathrooms, more than double the number of bathrooms that are on site right now, and those would be open to the public. We'd also see a bubble, an air dome, to make sure that weather didn't constrict the hours of play. We need a lot more details if we were to move forward with another solicitation, but of course wanted to come back to the community board as soon as possible and share what we learned from this RFEI. The respondents were enthusiastic about providing reduced rates, especially monthly free intro classes for NYCHA residents, free court time for Baruch Houses residents, because we'd be right in their backyard, it would be important to get everyone on board, everyone trying out the sport, and volunteer events, other recreational activities, and opportunities for maybe the non-Padel fans. All right. Andrew, anything to add?
No, that was perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so the way we are going to do this is the practice.
Sure.
The practice that we've done at all committee board meetings, and where the committee will ask questions first, and then we'll go to the members of the audience who are here, and then to the folks who are online. But first off, I'm going to do some clarification questions before we go to the committee. How many respondents did you have to this RFEI?
One.
One. And you said the New Yorkers, but there must be some reason why you can't identify them as a group. Is it a group, a company, or?
It was a group, not an existing company, but a group of people who would form a partnership to complete this project. I can't give their identifying information.
That's fine. And this partnership, this is because of what happened last time, and the couple of respondents we've seen with regards to financing, because this is an expensive proposition. Were they able to tell you how they plan to finance this?
I believe it was privately self-funded. Do you remember
Yeah,
that
that
from the
sounds right.
proposal?
Yeah, and moving forward, if we decide to put out a new solicitation, obviously in our categories where we rate proposals, one of those is operating experience and financial capability. For this project specifically, knowing how much capital investment would need to be involved here, that would be a heavily weighted category, and something that we would, discuss in great detail with whomever may be a future awardee of an actual concession. Is where's your fund coming from? Is it secured? Is it public funds, private funds, fundraising, all that kind of stuff. It's a critical part for this concession for sure.
During the last proposals, we heard about the amount that it costs to demo.
Right.
I imagine it's going to cost. So what are we looking at realistically? And just a ballpark figure.
I don't have a ballpark number. Obviously, if the city were to do it, it would be 3 to 5 times likely what it would cost private. And it also depends. So for example, if this group has experience or they are a construction team, it might be cheaper for them to demolish it versus like a sports and recreation company, just because they have the ties to it. But I don't really have a number I can give an estimate for.
No, Max, I just want to look at their financials. We're going to evaluate.
Sure.
Do this. If they say 10 million demo group, and you have an estimate of 40 million.
Right.
How do you evaluate whether that's a reasonable number?
Well, we would definitely, for a project like this, we may include Parks Capital to get their kind of expertise and say, like you said, is 10 million a realistic estimate? And they might turn around and say, well, even private funds, it's going to cost whatever, 20, 30, 40, 50. And then in-house, we have our director of concessions, architecture, and the deputy director. So the two of them would also be heavily involved in reviewing responses and their expertise. Tony McCarrick, who's our director, has been there for around 30, 40 years. So he would, without even having to go to Parks Capital, we would go to Tony first. So here's a proposal we got. They said they're doing it for 5 million. He'll turn around to us and say, there's no way you can do it for that. Or again, 30 million, he might say that's a better estimate. But like you said, since the last response a few years ago, as we know, just the cost of goods and the cost of construction has increased tremendously. It might be, even if it was call it 30 years ago, it could be, who knows, 40 or so.
Okay. So I'm going to go to the committee because I have other questions, but I want to make sure I'm going to start this way first. Daisy, I think you're first. And Daisy, I'm going to try and repeat the best I can. Okay.
Basically, what I'm concerned with the question, my concern with this project kind of is in this neighborhood and it being that each farm funded and also there is nobody, what's going to happen to that area? That would be my concern. And two, I would say, I would ask how would you be out for within the community to let them know what's going on, how would you implement that?
So
Okay,
I'm gonna repeat for you.
sure. The question was, the concern was not only if the project gets started and funding dries up and isn't completed, that's a big concern for the community, of course, and it would be for parks too. If you sign and register a license agreement, you are responsible for what happens on the site. Parks is not in the business of cleaning up other people's messes routinely. I personally don't know of any case where capital construction started at a concession and then things dried up. You are committed to a minimum amount of money to expend on the capital construction.
So it's a guarantee.
Correct. Minimum guarantee.
Okay.
And community involvement.
As far as community involvement and outreach, we, like the presentation stated, we've been to the community board since 2018 on this.
But everybody doesn't come to the community board. That's the problem.
I'll just add that the community board would be formally notified of any solicitation that goes out. We're required by the rules of the city to send out notifications to the community board and the borough president. And we're always open to suggestions on how best to get the word out about different solicitations, news on our solicitations.
All right, so Susan has a comment.
Yeah, I just want to also address that. I just found out today that Goals has been doing a community survey with Pratt for this and has to be on the agenda in September. So unbeknownst to us, there has been outreach and we will hear whatever the results are in September. I have no idea what they are.
Okay, thank
So
you.
I'm just gonna comment on us. There have been other groups since the first iteration of this we've done some sort of community input, but I'm gonna urge you that it needs to go outside of the community board. There are groups and maybe talking with Bills on how to do this, but I want to emphasize, like you said, this is an RFEI. We're not at the RFP process. So
Correct, yeah.
we still need to do community outreach, but we're still at the RFEI.
Correct. Yeah, so just for if it helps to clarify, so when we issue an RFEI and like the response we received, this won't result in a license agreement. So this, for this solicitation specifically. So the RFEI, like Mallory said, we put it out there because we might not know what's best for the community. If a building should be a restaurant, if it should be a sports facility, it should be a tennis facility, what have you. So that's why we asked the private, and individuals to respond to that, to help us to then help inform us on an RFP that we would eventually put out. So we have an RFEI now in Tappan Park and Staten Island. For this reason, there's a house there that we would want to see, like, what the community, what their ideas are. So if we were to move forward and put out an RFP, again, there's nothing precluding this group from proposing this plan, so they can very well put forward a plan, but it also, we would welcome and encourage other groups, goals, or whatever bids, other organizations to also bid, to propose, and to also spread the word. In all of our solicitations, we try our best to do as much outreach as possible. The more proposals we receive, the better deal we can get for the city, the better deal we can get for the community. So we're always trying to do as much outreach.
So for clarification, just because you only receive one RFEI, those who might be interested can still submit an RFP.
Should we decide to go?
Should we
Correct.
decide to move forward?
Correct. Correct.
Thanks.
Does that mean RFBI is closed?
Does that mean RFEI is closed?
Correct. Yeah. So we're not receiving any other responses on this RFEI solicitation specifically.
But if you decide to go forward, the RFP issue, then anybody can respond.
Correct. Yeah.
And be on a new timetable.
And it would be more specific. So the RFEI was written in a way where it was, we have this facility and this area, basically tell us what you would like it to be. So we could have gotten a mini golf course, a tennis facility, Cadell, a restaurant, what have you. And then if, we decide to move forward with this, we may put an RFP out, and the RFP would be more specific. So it would be a sports and rec facility, or it would be a restaurant specifically. So our RFPs are very specific to the category of that concession.
Okay, thanks. Daniel?
Just two quick questions about response. did they specify what the walls of the padel courts would be made out of? And is it fenced off from the rest of the playground?
They envisioned fencing, let me go over they envisioned fencing around the perimeter of the project site. So that's the yellow piece you saw. But they also proposed an air dome, a bubble. Are you familiar with an indoor tennis, like the big white bubbles that go up? Yeah, so they also proposed that there'd be an air dome over the entire site with the pro shop, the bathrooms, and the lockers being publicly accessible. That's the outside of the air dome through which people would pass to get into the padel courts. Padel is typically played inside a clear box.
We used to call it that 40 years ago.
It's very similar. It's very similar. It is,
If you can use a
it's
seat.
a glass compound. I don't know the scientific makeup of it, but it's clear. It looks like glass and you can hit a ball off of it hard. It doesn't break.
Yeah.
So it can't be like, thin glass, but.
Temporary squash court in Hamilton
Huh.
Fish for a while. But yeah.
It's destroyed
That brought up one more question. Oh, is there,
twice.
I forget, it will be any actual playground stuff installed? Like, I believe there used to be, or the basketball courts that were open, like that were south of the field. Is that?
I'm trying to picture which part of the site you mean, kind of like if you're facing the turf field, the left of the bathhouse?
Yeah, like just
Yeah.
outside of that.
That's kind of the closed off,
Yeah.
area right now.
Just that section has been closed because there was concern that the building would, exactly.
So parks, we get that part back for basketball court once everything's stabilized, that part of the.
Right now, looking at the site plan, that is where they have a food court, garden area.
And seating area with I think they envisioned a couple like food truck, or pop-up activation.
Public seating. I don't see any basketball courts or play equipment. I do see the outdoor gym and adult fitness equipment on the site.
That's all
I'm gonna go back this way.
What's the name? I wanted to end here.
All right, so let's end. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just hearing that there's no basketball court and knowing that this is a community facility and a lot of, especially group, they need, well, the basketball courts because that's what the kids are mostly used to. So what is it you get from this? Is it that it is, that's definitely like basketball courts.
Well, again, there's, I think, some solace. So there's no like that's gonna come of this specifically. So there's certain aspects of this one response to the RI basketball, for example, that something that jumps out to you, or if it's, we tried to figure out years ago and the community hated it because no one wanted to play it, that kind of thing. That's the kind of feedback that would help inform us if we again decide to go the route of the RFP. We definitely, get that feedback in advance of the RFP. Now we said put out the 40-day notice to get the community board and borough residents feedback. So that's stuff we would take into when we decide to put out the RFP. Include something of, parks encourages proposers to include basketball courts in your proposal. That's like a language we can put in there.
And it just seems like the kind of thing that the neighborhood, the kids in the neighborhood use.
Right.
A lot.
Right.
I just like to add that you're saying you're going to Manhattan, well, President Community Board 3, but we need to go to the people who actually live in the area. We need to go to.
Oh, sure.
Who are invested years in this community. I was born and raised in Baruch.
Definitely. So when I see that, so that's like urban vernacular in our head. So before we put out RFP solicitation, we're required by the concession rules to issue what's called 40 days UD notice. So that again, like officially goes out on the record to the community board and the borough president. That doesn't mean that's the only two groups that we're gonna reach out to, like, we'll reach out to houses, you know, the goals, any bids in the area, you know, we have, even when I was working on this in 2018, 2020, I have a long list of outreach groups that we've reached out to. That we would definitely reach out to them and also expand, so.
It's very important.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this so I can have some control of this meeting and other people want to speak. So I'm gonna go to Val next.
Yeah, I guess let me just say, the White House Working Group, which I mentioned before, is goals, Carlina Rivera, Henry Settlement. I can't actually read the rest. I guess my question is kind of like, what is the possible next steps that you're gonna take? And when you said a timeline, what's the possible next steps and what is the possible time? And I have to think that, you know, I'm assuming that you're talking about this is right at the group, so I would assume that you could go to the Group Tenant Association and find out, you know, meet with tenant association and they can make sure that they say put flyers in all of the buildings. But really, what would the next steps be and what would that kind of timeline or what would you expect or think in terms of a timeline going forward?
Yeah, so we received
Let's
responses. Sure.
summarize. I know it was a long question, but if you could summarize that question.
So basically, what the question was, what's
Susan, Susan.
Susan, too loud.
the timeline, you know, a potential timeline, and what the next steps would be coming out of this RFEI. And then there's also a comment need to, you know, reach out to the Baruch House, if and when, you know, we put the solicitation out. So we received this response you know, not that long ago, it was fairly recent. So we're still kind of adjusting internally and still speaking internally on next steps. You know, whenever we have an RFEI, or whenever we do get responses to an RFEI, we start, you know, with the working group that Mallory, the project manager, myself, and our chief of concessions, and then we reach out to Parks leadership. So we include our assistant commissioner for business development and special events. We'll reach out to our first deputy commissioner and our commissioner as well to go over the findings and then what the next step will be. So after an RFEI, if we decide, you know, we would like to put out an RFP, and that's something, you know, we can definitely, once we can put up the community board, if that's something you want us to put out an RFP again, that's what the next step would be. Is
So
actually,
the next steps would be that internally you meet with the various leaderships
correct,
of Parks Department
correct,
about next steps. And
Right.
then after that, if it's determined that we are going to move forward, you then would probably put out a
an
RFP.
RFP,
So
correct.
when do you expect, or do you expect to meet internally with Parks Department staff?
We do. I don't have a great timeline for you on specific dates. As Mallory said before, we've been coming to the community board for the past 7 years now, so there's a very good working relationship with you guys. So when we do feel like we have a direction, either which way, it's really a, you know, we need to speak with our assistant commissioner first before I can kind of speak on his behalf to say, you know, we're definitely putting an RFP out or we're not. So I don't want to speak without speaking with him first. But once we do have that direction, that's, you know, we'll definitely work with
Do you
him.
plan to meet with the commissioner within like the next month or two? Say, what is
Yeah,
it?
we
We'll
report,
talk to the assistant commissioner within the next month for sure.
yeah, we report to him directly. So Mallory and I speak with him on a day-to-day basis.
So
this
you
is how
expect to
his-
meet with him?
I will give him the readout from this meeting the first day that he's back from
He's on
vacation.
vacation, otherwise he would have been here. David Cerrone, who's been here a couple of times, so he's heavily involved in this project specifically, which is very unique
Okay.
to concessions.
Yeah, I'd like to know like time.
Sure, yeah, once we have a better fleshed out idea, we'll definitely, and then just to give you, if it's okay, just generally speaking, with our RFPs, the day we put it out on the street, it's about a year and change from when it goes out publicly until when we have an operator, you know, starting their work or opening the restaurant and starting. So it's in that kind of year.
And so.
So let's, Val, let me go, I'm gonna come back to you. The reason we now have the largest committee on the community board with 16 members, and I have to figure out a way to manage this because sometimes I'm very long. So I'm gonna do a second round, but I'm gonna go to Josie and then Okay, go ahead.
This is my first.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I see, I kind of heard a purple before, the purple.
That was the last estimate.
But I used to think that on antennas
Mhm.
and equipment involved, like, it was fairly expensive.
Hmm.
So with this purple, the equipment involved, is it affordable to lower the thing for kids?
You'll repeat the question.
Sure. So the question was about the equipment needed to play padel, whether it's affordable and whether it could be made affordable for specifically children in the neighborhood. I don't know the cost of padel paddle off the top of my head. I'd be happy to Google it in a couple minutes. I will say that in any license agreement, parks are in negotiation with the signatory, with the operator. And we have the flexibility to propose language in the license agreement that says free paddle rentals for 25 children once a month. We have the opportunity to negotiate that with them. I'll give the example of Woolman giving free
Let her
skate
finish.
rentals. I'll give the example of Woolman Rink in Central Park, giving free skate rentals to children a number of times per year, X number of children, X numbers of hours of programming. We have the flexibility to write that into all of our license agreements. They're the result of a negotiation. So when the community board tells parks, we really want free rentals available for kids, we then turn around and tell the operator, the community wants to see free paddle rentals. What can you offer? What kind of deal can you offer to the city? And that's something that becomes their commitment once they sign the contract.
And that's, sorry, just to add on to that, our new commissioner, who was a former first deputy commissioner, Iris Rodriguez-Rosa, that's like her crucial point, and what's been relayed down to us is making sure our concessions are affordable, that there's programming for youth, seniors, it's not about, how can we squeeze the most money out of an operator, out of a community to get the most money for the city. It's how do we ensure that our concessions are being mindful of the communities that they operate in and giving back to those communities. So that's like direct. Right.
I hear you.
Right.
Padel is
One L.
one L, PADEL.
All right, so now you're looking at, because Josie,
Do you want me to move this around?
let's go ahead. Can we have five?
The neighborhood is all, families that are there, the children, the adults, teenagers. And so we're putting in something that's for adults and for outsiders. This is not for the community. So I'm beginning to see that they're actually taking this building, confiscating it, that's what I think. Because you do what you think is good, what will make money. But what about the community? There's no sprinkler system, there's no, basketball for the kids, whatever, climbing bars, all that stuff, there's nothing for them there. There's no park in that community, you know that. That's the only place that children can actually hang out. And so I don't know, I'm really not for this, what you're doing. I'm sorry.
Well, just to clarify again, so this whole Padel idea, when we leave today, there's not going to be a Padel court there tomorrow. This RFEI is closed. We're not going to legally have no ability to enter into a license agreement to allow this group to do this. So this was, again, just us basically saying to the world out there, what could you do with this piece of property? And this is what we got back from us. So this is something that the city is, it wasn't our idea, and it, again, is not binding in any way. Like I said, any feedback we can get from the community board by way of the community would help to inform us to write a future RFP to ensure that we get the best response for the community. So if there's certain language, like we said before, of the basketball courts are packed every single day and they have to be there, we can include language in the RFP that, like I said, could be parks encourages the use of basketball courts, or parks requires that the basketball courts remain intact, or proposers must include a basketball court in their proposal, something like that, we can definitely work with you on.
A sprinkler system for children, I mean, there's
Same
nothing
thing.
for the children.
Sure.
You know.
Sure, yeah, and again, language could, Parks encourages proposers to.
If we want to
include
see spray
programming.
showers, splash pad.
Let's do some clarification to make this meeting a little more efficient. Josie, as he mentioned, this is an RFEI, which means that they submitted this for people who are interested. To say, is anyone interested in this particular location of doing something? They got one respondent back.
Right.
This isn't a proposal. They need to submit a proposal. So what we're going to do as a committee is give some feedback as to if they submit an RFP for other suggestions, like you mentioned, maybe a sprinkler or even Padel, depending on how the committee feels. But they didn't submit this. It's from a person, from a proposal. It's not their submission.
And isn't it also where this is most likely what these people would fund?
Correct. If we were to move forward and put an RFP out for the operation and maintenance of a recreational facility at the Baruch Playground, if we put that RFP out, we would likely, I would imagine, get this same response put in there, and we may get proposer 2 who, proposes soccer field, or for example, something, ice rink, right? Who knows? So again,
Just.
I'm gonna go to her because I want to keep order on this. Go
But
ahead.
I have one question.
I'll get to your question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good luck.
I'm gonna be this way with 17 people on this committee, so.
I just wanted to, so the reason you're getting RFPs in any case is because Parks Department in New York City doesn't have the money
Right.
to either demolish this thing, the bathhouse, and or build anything else. So that's why we're getting all these proposals, because the same thing happened with the ice hockey thing. There's no money, so the money is coming from a private place.
Correct.
And you're trying to get the best deal for the public and the community that you can.
correct, and that goes for all of our concessions. So we put solicitations out to allow operators to generate revenue on parkland using privately sourced funds.
Yes.
So that there's no taxpayer funds going towards creating, an ice rink somewhere.
Yes,
Thank you.
but it's they're public land, so I think that's where the push.
Sure.
This land belongs to the
Of
public.
course.
And yet we're having private people come in doing concessions, but it's because there is no money.
Correct.
At least it's not going to there.
And the funds generated then go back into the city's
So it's
general.
not that you are just loving all these interesting things.
Right.
So let's do this. I'm gonna go to Val first, and then we're gonna go back this way. Val?
Well, no, just, I think one of the things to go back to, was they were stating there about I'm assuming this was what they were saying, in terms of what they would offer the people at the group houses. Can you just go back and just say that again, because it was like pretty quickly done. But I think they were saying that they would have reduced fees or something for the people of the group houses.
Sure. So like I said, when I read the slide, this is the response we received. This is not the result of a license negotiation. We did not go back and forth 100 times with these people. On their own, they suggested reduced rates would be available. So some people might pay full price and others would not. Initiatives with free monthly intro classes for NYCHA residents, free court time for Baruch Houses residents during off-peak hours, Padel clinics and camps for children during school breaks and weekends, opportunities for local students to become ambassadors and event organizers, offer volunteer-led events and charity tournaments. So that's what they gave us as far as what can you do for the community? That was what was offered to us.
I believe I have one more question, and then we're gonna go to those who are sitting here and then those who are online. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, is there any history over all these years of things that have been asked for from residents of Baruch houses, or, I mean, do we have a list of those? Because I'm not, it feels as though some engagement has already happened and there's been wish lists developed.
Yes, so we have records of all of the task force meetings, all of the community board meetings. We have the notes that go back to 2018 where people want to see reduced rates. People want to see free programming hours. People want to see space made available for their own community meetings and gatherings. I know that this project does go back longer than my time at Parks does, but the community board meetings I've personally attended, people stood up and said, I lead a Girl Scout troop. Where can we meet in this building? You know, if there was a giant building put up, could I have, you know, my knitting circle come and use the space for a time? That's something that we can write into the license agreement.
Could
Of
you-
course, we can't give preferential treatment to Girl Scout 3 or knitting circle, but we could require that they make space available for community groups on a first come, first served basis, on a sign up basis, you know, be amenable to all of these things.
And as a follow-up, so if you have that community input that was generated, have you done a comparison with that and with this proposal? Have you done any assessment about how they match or don't match?
I will tell you, I did not sit down and do a crosshatch comparison between the notes from the last 7 years and this proposal. But having been on this project for my entire tenure at Park, there are things that stick out to me, like space for communities to use, like reduced programming, clinics and intro activities for kids, summer camps, kind of the buzzwords that I've gotten to know. Andrew. Alice, as far as, I know you've been on it longer than I have.
Sounds like gold. So I'm gonna follow up on, she just mentioned that if you could take a look at that and maybe summarize that for one of your slides, because I think it's critical. We, like you said, it's been at least 7 years and some of us have been working on this for 7 years. And also I know that Goals and Pratt have their own survey. I'd be interested in to see what they found, to see what merges. I still know just from experience that it's still going to be difficult to get an RFP that matches what everybody wants. But to get some of the core elements of what the community wants, you know, we might get to a point where everyone thinks it's okay. But that being said, it's 7:35. I want to go to those in the audience. I want to see a raise of hands if you have a question or comment. Okay, I'm gonna go with him because he's been here since the beginning and he filled up. Go ahead.
We should probably have him come sit up here.
If you're gonna come, sit up, and I want you to, you did fill out the attendance, but I want you to fill out speaker also. I'm gonna give you 2 minutes. You can just Okay, we're gonna start now. I'm gonna give you 2 minutes, I'll look at my clock. You going to? Well, you're gonna talk to us, okay.
So my name is Eddie Rodriguez. I'm from the neighborhood, Lower East Side, born and raised. After D, I work for Jobs Plus. And I also am the co-director of Kula Foundation, and we had a proposal that was put in. Here's my sort of issue with this. I mean, the first thing I think that you do is that you have to respect the community where you're putting this, right? The main idea that they were going to put an ice rink in the middle of Baruch projects to begin with was kind of insanity to begin with, okay? The other piece is how much of outreach to the community do you go out? Because, you know, Parks is always, I mean, they'll claim the scarcity sort of model to push it out to the privatization. And if you know a little bit about the privatization and you saw what happened at even moving over to private housing at Reese housing, and they rejected it. Because I think they saw what the outcomes of that is, that it becomes that they're not serving the people that are in the community. This young lady said she grew up in Baruch. There's a lot of memories of people growing up there. I played softball in that field.
I learned how to swim in there.
Exactly. And there's nothing there for young people to do. And they want to bring in this stuff that is going to attract people that aren't from the neighborhood. Unless the reality is that if they bring this in there, maybe they'll convert the neighborhood over. And we're seeing that. So my concern is that I think you need to re-engage back with the community. I don't know what kind of work you did, and I'm trusting that you said you did. But I'm on the ground all the time. And I talk to people. And I think if you really want to go about it, how do the people in every one of those buildings feel about building that there? I would argue that they would probably strongly reject it because it doesn't serve the needs of the community. And I hope that maybe the proposals that maybe come forward after that or ideas serve the community that they're in. It's not who you wish that was there, serve the people that are there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for keeping it to me. Appreciate it. Frank.
I just have questions, not a statement. Yes, I heard.
That way they'll be able to hear you.
Yep. So I'll read them quickly and I can repeat it, but it's pretty easy. So the first question is there a minimum number of responses you require for the RFP when you get to that process in order to proceed? Second question will be, the monies that Parks gets out of any potential deal, can those funds be dispersed back into the outlining community in terms of the local park systems? The third question is, due to the age of the building and its obvious crumbling infrastructure, who would be responsible in the case scenario of like really abatement needs, because it is a city building? So sure, privately funded, but there are a lot of surprises with these kind of buildings. So who would take on that expense? And my last question is, what would be potentially the license term that you would work on for this project?
Okay, so I think I can go through them if I recall. So the first question, is there a minimum response? So no, we've put out solicitations in the past where we've only received one proposal and we've moved forward with that. We've gotten proposals, 10, 15 proposals on certain RFPs. So it kind of depends on
So
what we
really,
get.
so you could, if there's only one response to the RFP and it satisfies or whatever,
Correct.
you would proceed.
With but he's saying with an actual RFP.
No, I'm jumping ahead, cart before the horse,
Right.
but like
Yeah.
when you get to
As
that.
long as we feel like the respondents meet the criteria of operating experience, financial capability, planned operations. So, we're not going to move forward with someone if they say, you have to, tennis is going to be $50 an hour and I'm not budgeting.
No, I get it, but
So,
there is no minimum.
Correct.
Okay. So the second was about monies that Parks gets. Can that be dispersed back into the outlining park systems for that community?
So the way the concession rules in the city charter is written, any revenue generated through parks concessions, and I think it's fair to believe any city concessions, maybe like DOT or other city agency, goes back into the general fund.
That's all I saw.
General fund.
Oh,
General fund.
Yeah, I thought so, but I wanted to ask.
that's not always true.
Oh,
You have concessions which are on EDC land, but those concessions down near the seaport go back into the imaginary Marion playground.
Okay, so
Yeah, but
the
not-
clarification for this project specifically, it would go back into the general fund. There may be thank you, Trevor. It's very specific nuance.
So could that be a possibility?
yeah, since there's precedence.
No.
I don't know, especially because I don't believe this property is EDC property.
No, it's not,
No.
but I'm just saying.
I'd have to ask our general counsel.
Yeah,
That's
it's
not
more of a legal question. Sure.
Right now, there's a big push from the Center for an Urban Future to have concessions actually give back to at least the parks.
That's what I'm
department.
getting at, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but that's.
So if you could find out.
Yeah, we can find out. It's a legal question, but I'm sure, there's merits to both
Yeah,
sides.
so the third question was about any kind of abatement needs.
That would any abatement, and this goes for any of our concessions, is funded by the concessionaire and would go into the license agreement. So like we said before, they would propose a capital, a minimum guaranteed capital expenditure. They would have to meet that minimum. Let's say it's $20 million for example. And that would include a line item for asbestos abatement, lead abatement, overall abatement, that kind of thing.
So if there's any discoverables, they're still on the hook for it.
Correct.
Right.
And then I'm sorry, the last one was the term, the license term. What would be that term? Hard to say.
We don't, so typically when we do our RFPs, again, a restaurant, what have you, we consult with our director of architecture and our architects teams to see what, the max we can put out is 20 years before we go to the FCRC for additional approval. If it's a project, so we recently put out Transmitter Park in Brooklyn, and previously we put out for 20 years, didn't receive any, weren't able to move forward with any concessionaire. The feedback we got from potential proposers was it's not enough time for us to recoup our capital costs. So if we felt like this project, and I think we all agree that the amount of money that would be involved in this is extreme, we can explore that option of pursuing longer than 20-year terms.
Oh, and I had one more piggyback on that. Who owns the building? Who would own that building? City Parks?
The city would still be the landlord and owner of the building, again, if the facility stayed there for the 20 years. And then once the license agreement expires, assuming we put out another RFP 20 years from now, the city still retains ownership, and then another operator will come in and operate that.
Got it. So it's not like the city has to pay back this whatever hypothetical.
Correct, no.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just add that when we released the RFP in 2020, the term was for 20 years.
Got it.
And was there any feedback from
I don't from either
proposal saying it wasn't long enough?
No.
Okay. So I'm gonna get.
Other people.
Was there any feedback from the previous two respondents to the prior RFP that the term wasn't long
Ice
enough?
skating people?
Correct.
Oh, yeah, no.
That it wasn't a long enough
I
term.
know the feel.
All right, so for those folks who are online, if you could raise your hand, I'm gonna attempt to go through the questions here. I don't see anyone with their hand raised. Oh, okay, Jasmine, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, I. Okay, you should be able to talk now.
Hi, Jasmine, can you hear me?
I hear you, Trevor. How are you?
Okay, I'm gonna have to raise the volume on this, so give me a second.
No worries.
I got it.
You got it.
I have one of these at home, but
Oh.
you have the new model. Hi, Jasmine.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, for 2 minutes, but we can hear you, but you're gonna have to speak up.
Perfect. So good evening, everyone. My name is Jasmine Sanchez, and I'm a lifelong Baruch Houses resident. I'm also the incoming Assembly District Leader that represents Baruch and a member of the White House Working Group that was mentioned earlier on this in this meeting. I couldn't hear, and I put that in the chat, so I have a few clarifying questions. Do we know who this entity that is submitting this RFI is?
Jasmine, you can go through all your questions and then try and write them down.
Oh,
and then you
perfect.
can
Okay.
answer.
The other thing would be, did this entity do any outreach to Baruch Houses itself? Because it seems that anyone who proposes an RFEI or even fills out an RFP fails to meet with the 10,000 residents that live in Baruch Houses when we are key stakeholders in any decisions that happen on the land within our property. I'm also the treasurer of the Baruch Houses Association for the upcoming year, and no one has reached out to the tenant association in regards to any of these proposals. The other thing is it mentioned reduced fees at Baruch Houses, and I'm wondering if there's any intent to understand the economical dynamics in Baruch, that they could pay $0 for rent based on their income up to 30% of their rent. So even having a reduced fee is an issue if it's a family that has more than 2 or 3 children, plus, two person led household. I think that is ridiculous. And then it sounds as if the time that they were indicating that we would have access to this sounds similar to what Magic Towers is doing, where they said the community can utilize hours that were off peak. So that could be 10 to 11, that could be 1 to 2. When do our young people sit in this community from 10 to 11 or 1 to 2 p.m.? It sounds as if this is profit over people, because our kids need access to a facility after school or when school is not in session. And these entities should be free for the people that are in our community who wholly cannot pay for, but people that are in our community should have direct access to this. And to answer the other question, in 2008, we submitted a proposal for this as well, with over 1,800 households submitting what they wish this building to be. And it should be on the CB3, if you Google it, CB3 database or something like that, because it tells you exactly what the service was consisted of. And nothing that has been presented over the last 20 years has included the feedback from the residents that age in place, and they are not brought to the table when these conversations happen.
And thank you, Jasmine. I'll give them an opportunity to answer. Please respond to the comments. So, question, and you didn't mention an answer to this. Who is the entity that's submitted this RFE?
At this point in the process, we don't share people's identifying personal information. I can tell you this is a team of New Yorkers who have experience in construction and who, if we move forward with a proposal, request for proposals, we would have deemed them to be reasonably qualified.
And at what point during this process would the community outreach to Baruch and the other surrounding neighborhoods begin?
I think that was her question specifically, did the respondent to this RFEI do any outreach to the Baruch houses? Yeah. That I don't know if they mentioned anything in their response to us. To my knowledge, I don't believe they did.
I'll add that in this request for expressions of interest, like I mentioned earlier, I think of this as the suggestion box. It can be open to anyone to respond if, you know, I'm just someone from the community and I feel like I want to submit my expression of interest. I'm interested in seeing basketball courts or spray showers or free programming. Anyone is welcome to submit a response to an RFEI because they do not move forward and result in a contract. I personally was the project manager for an RFEI in downtown Brooklyn, where we received some business responses and some local resident responses to just share. I think this should be considered when we draft an RFP. If we were to move forward with a solicitation at this site, of course, we would do outreach similar to or more extensive than we did in preparing the prior RFP that went out in 2020. We're here to listen. We're here to continue this partnership that we've been working on for a few years, and we always want to collaborate with the community board where we can.
Thank you. And I guess very quickly to that, you said that there's a suggestion box.
We have a different technical situation here, so that's why I should just say everything you need to say. What was your response?
The question, the statement is that it was mentioned that there was a suggestion box. What should never be a suggestion is the outreach and communication to the residents that live in this community. That should be a priority and a requirement, not a suggestion. So if anyone submits something without speaking to the people that are going to be directly impacted, those proposals should be tossed out because they're not prioritizing the needs of our community. And that's the last statement I would want to say. Thank you, Trevor.
All right. Well, they still have to answer the other two comments. So let me just turn the volume down on here and let them answer.
I think the other two comments were about the reduced fee is essentially not appropriate for some folks at the houses. So we appreciate that feedback. And that's good context for us to know. And then I think similarly along the same lines of the hours of access for the members of the houses, you felt like they weren't appropriate. So again, that's helpful for us. And those are things that if we were to move forward with a respondent and move forward with a license agreement, that's something that we can, like Mallory said before, would come forward through the license agreement negotiation phase. So our director of concessions compliance reviews hours, menus, price lists, all that stuff. So we don't take anything lightly. We don't just, you know, if someone proposes, like I said before, $50 for an hour for tennis lessons or courts, We don't just say, okay, sounds good, 50 and put in the license agreement. So there's internal reviews that we go through in order to ensure that prices and hours meet the needs of the community.
All right, thank you. I don't see any more questions online. I think we're good. But what we have to do as a committee, I mean, this process where we're at right now is the RFEI. They're looking for feedback in the event that you submit an RFP. And there's some feedback from goals and some feedback, she mentioned, from 7 years of, maybe 7 years of back and forth with this. So I'm going to go through, Jasmine just mentioned some and some other folks have mentioned some. So there's some feedback that we hope you could take back. Is there anything else that folks want to add in terms of feedback for this process?
I feel like this just keeps happening, that people with money want to do things that people with money want to do. I get it, okay, but they're trying to do their things in communities that don't have money. Communities that don't have money want things, they don't have the money. So it keeps being this, and I think we need to see the goal stuff, I think we need to see that compilation if you could. Just so we don't keep having the same conversation, that the problem is that there apparently is no money in New York City, the richest city in the world, but, okay, but Parks doesn't have it. So we have a problem that there's no money in Parks, they can't even, we don't even have money for staff. So I feel like somebody has to do a tour where we sit down with people who live in these communities and the money people and just try to duke it out because we keep having. Okay, yes, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. You know, that means.
You know, time you say duke it out, the folks with the money want to leave, you know, it's fight yourself.
Anyway, thank you. But, you got my point, that I don't, it's not on you, you keep coming with the only people who are coming to you with the money, and nobody wants those things where there's no money.
So let's do this. You've got some feedback from the committee. I would urge that those folks are serious that they need to do a Padel clinic in this area quickly, because just from my opinion, I played all types of sports. I played college sports. I don't like to see where a neighborhood is shut out from a new sport just because we think it's not the sport to do. That really irritates me more than anything. I played more than basketball. I played all types of sports. So I think we look at it and we say, oh, that's not for us, until you start doing it and realize it might be fun. But in order for folks to even understand, because I didn't even know what padel was, even though I know it's squash with a roof, that they need to do some outreach to show their sport. But it doesn't feel like it's a sport for the community. But go ahead, Susan.
So I also want to say, besides that, it sounds like it's a sport for very fit people, from what I'm understanding. So even if you had like free time, I mean, you're not going to have, a lot of people wouldn't be able to do it.
Pickleball is tennis for babies.
What?
Pickleball is tennis.
Yes, I know everybody.
It's just, it's fun. You don't have to be in shape.
Yeah, I know everybody plays pickleball, but this one sounds like it's for very fit, very young people. I don't think you're gonna get anyone 65. So just another thing to consider.
Yeah.
I think too, when you come back, because it sounds like you'll probably be back at a point. I think what she said was like one of the things that I think the community has to understand, that we're probably looking at the possibility of negotiating. And I kind of think that, you know, maybe if you had some pictures of what Padel looks like, that would also help for people to see that this is whatever. And I think, like I asked you before, I think the other thing to stress is what these people offer in terms of amenities for the community, because they did. But I think that sometimes you can get things lost in the sauce. Whereas that's like a major point for the community. What are the amenities for the community? So anyway, it's, you know,
So I'm gonna, go ahead, briefly.
Just, for you guys to consider thinking about the concessions also kind of as an amenity, meaning that they should be also somewhat tailored to the community, because that is a huge deal, because otherwise it's gonna look like we don't want any of the community coming in.
And also with that rendering, there's like 6 food trucks, which is overkill for that area. They would never make any money. But I'm just gonna summarize some of the stuff and focusing on what Jasmine said in terms of reducing fees and doing community outreach and perhaps making it 0 and make sure the hours are compatible with younger folks coming out of school. Because a lot of times these off-peak hours that they give people are not, you know, people can't use them during the off-peak hours. Yeah. Well, I understand bubble thing, but I'm more interested in helping them shape the RFP if an RFP goes out. And just to put comments about what we can send or how we can frame the RFP. That's why they're taking back what they have from here. We still want to hear from goals and, you know, the community, because they did an extensive survey. We have 7 years of research surveys to work on that first, because it'll be interesting if you do issue an RFP for this, considering the cost, and you know, there's only a few groups who would be interested in taking on this responsibility, to be honest. Comments from the committee before we close this?
I would like us to be honest with the community about what happens if these proposals are not accepted. Does it mean that that sits fallow for decades? I mean, for real, like, or does a decision get made to go get our, you know, elected representatives to fund the playground getting fixed and something else getting fixed, and that building just gets cordoned off? I mean, I think people deserve a real conversation about what's possible. And if it really isn't, then be honest.
Yeah, I think that would need to be added, maybe from another department, parks, as to, okay, if this doesn't happen. I know I've heard folks say that they can get money, but trying to get money for 40 years, and it hasn't happened because of the expenses required.
Right.
So,
But could you do sections of it, like fix the playground, fix the basketball court, and then cordon off the building until you get money for a demolition? I mean, just more honest.
okay. So thank you. We'll stay in touch and let us know what happens at the upper levels of parks.
Yes.
You have some feedback from us. You're going to get some more feedback from other community members. But thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
and I think that next month.
When we get the survey.
Survey.
We have
Yeah.
a meeting next month.
Are you meeting in
I don't, I'm
September.
sorry,
in
September.
September? Okay, sure.
But will we have it before then?
What?
Did they give us it before then?
Can they?
Okay, we'll do.
I didn't
It
know
would
about
make-
anything today. She just heard me say that and she apologized.
Anyway, we'll continue. We're online. So folks, we're going to continue. If you want to sit and listen to district needs, you're welcome to. Otherwise, Val?
You could go outside in our beautiful corridor.
I'd like to get out of here before the sun completely sets, so
Yeah. Look, not with us.
yeah, Luke can come up. Teresa, you can come.
Well,
Still bring the salaries back.
don't do it the best.
All right, so we have Daisy. I'm sorry for we didn't do an introduction, but I just want to welcome Daisy as a new, new member, CV3 Community Board 3. So Susan, if you could give a brief statement on district needs, and then we're going to continue into, because we do not have that much to go over except for the section district needs.
So I want to remind you that Daisy's been a public member on parks before.
Yes, she has.
So she knows this committee. Yeah. So I have brought here paper copies and we can give some to Parks too. There should be enough, I think, almost.
No, there's not.
There's not enough, well, maybe some members can share them.
Oh, there might be.
Here's a.
It's got it, no.
Keep passing it down.
So
No, you don't need, you got it?
this,
Here, here.
he has,
It's easier on paper.
so this district needs is the same as what you looked at last month with one exception. Kay had said at the last meeting that she would send information about SDR Park, which is now incorporated in all this under SDR Park. There are some bullet points, which she discussed. After that, Allen Street Malls, we're still waiting, for information in September that Parks will be bringing. So we have to wait on that. And
I updated the water.
what?
I thought I updated the water.
Did you send me updated stuff for the waterfront that I don't have in here? I mean, I don't have it in here.
I will check, but I.
Okay, so
Sure if this is the updated version, I can't. remember.
I don't believe this has.
'Cause we did it at the last meeting.
Oh, did I get it? I don't know that it was sent to me.
I will check. But if
Okay.
not, I.
So it's not a problem. What we're trying to do is finalize as much as possible. So Trevor did update the waterfront, which I believe is not in here, but we will show that, because that needed to be, I think, strengthened is what we said. The other issue is the gardens. What we have isn't really.
You didn't hear back from him?
No, we have what he said,
What Susan.
but it's not district needs.
So what Susan has said, and this is, I'm not going to ask you so much time on this, is that what we've been writing, this is not sufficient. Because-
Well, what I'm saying, it definitely needs to be improved because in the past we have had some more specific stuff. But like one of the things, I'll give an example, it talks about being a garden district and that our gardens can still be sold, which I didn't realize. Is that true? Our gardens are not protected? They're not, so.
No intention to sell.
But so what I would think would make this much stronger is say, what needs to be done? Because we're saying that they're not protected, but we're not saying what we need to be done.
Because right here, the creation of a special purpose.
But who does that? Who does that? Who are we asking to do that?
I know what you're saying, I'm just a little worried because we've been doing this for years and this has been this way.
And we're trying, and no one's paid attention to this. I'm just trying to improve it. If we want it to become a garden district, who are we advocating to become a garden?
State level, decision going around. I mean, it's, yeah.
Well, if that's true, it's not even something the city can do then. I mean, but we need to know. I mean, we
But
should.
alienation of parkland is the opposite. It's state, but.
So let's do this. So we need to figure out who's responsible. We need to figure out how this can be done, whether it's at the city, state level.
It would improve this a lot if we could say, we need such and such, or this agency, or how it has to be done.
Daniel, is it possible for you to find out? Not right now, but just within a week.
Yeah, like,
But you need the state to do that.
They're under the park department, but they're not park.
so how do we get them to be parkland?
It's state and local government.
That's not zoning.
What? It's state, local governments. Going to get this done.
That sounds like we're making that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we ask Senator Kavanaugh. It's
Someone should, I mean,
Favorite.
it would just really improve it a lot to say, this is our target.
I will ask.
Daniel, Kay's gonna, okay?
Okay.
I'm gonna
Kay's
ask
gonna
Senator
find that
Kavanaugh.
out for the first part.
It was, Green Gorillas that, pictures over 11.
No, it's also the trust.
Oh, so Kay will find out. Green Gorillas had a petition going around. She will go through it.
Like I need this.
The next paragraph, folks who want to get out of here, then you're gonna have to be quiet, otherwise we're gonna stay longer.
I'm quiet.
Since all community gardens have the same maintenance and resource needs as public parks, CB3 requests that. Now, where's the weakness here?
I'm looking for where, I'm sorry, I lost, I found it. We encourage funding be made available to gardening groups to provide works. I mean, are people applying for money and not getting it?
So I'm looking at the original one.
Yeah, I mean, I am too. We're saying unmet need. So
Right.
if you want funding to go to groups, are groups requesting funding and not getting it, and that's why it's an unmet need?
I think if I remember what we were saying, and from what I know, is that, Green Thumb itself could have more capacity to be able to work with the gardeners. Like, we were saying that
They're not, you're saying Green Thumb doesn't have enough funding to work.
They do all these things, but it doesn't get to all the gardens and all, like, it's not enough capacity.
So then we're specifically asking for more funding for Green Thumb to be able to work for the community gardens. I think just to make it a little bit more specific for that.
So more funding for.
Green Thumb to be, is that the proper wording, to be able to do these things with garden groups?
Why aren't we then asking for more funding for parks staff in general? If
We are.
We are, but that's under the budget. We do that on our budget stuff all the
So
time.
more funding for Green Thumb to do all of
These specific things.
And
And we still need the Bruckner boxes, right?
well, it says Bruckner boxes in all parks that require.
Does it
them.
mean gardens?
Yeah, did you mean gardens?
So it should be gardens.
I mean,
And that's still true.
I would like them in all parks. too.
But is it still true that they still need them in all the gardens? None
I
of the
don't know.
gardens? What?
I don't know.
Well, then we can't have it if we don't know. I mean, this is very old.
Didn't they,
This is not the new thing.
Did Lungs not give us any information?
I don't think he gave it. I
I
don't,
will check to see where they give.
yeah.
He gave anything. Otherwise, we're gonna keep that paragraph and change
I go-
parks to community gardens.
Yeah, and then just on the Bruckner to see if that, because that's old, is that still true?
Next paragraph, keeping gardens well lit is a public safety need, the increase in.
Well, that's
drug use,
still true.
gardeners.
That's still true.
So what is the ask here?
It should be, I assume,
Garden lighting. Garden.
lighting.
All right,
Okay, so that should do it.
I don't know if we have anything else.
That's, I don't think so.
I think,
Well, hold on.
just that I noticed with the little flower playground building, that up to date, what are they doing?
So I actually was able to pull up the rendering. I don't know if it's helpful for me to do this,
It's not.
There's no, it basically, I'll share it with Susan after this, but it's basically a replacement in kind with a bit more expanded playground. But there's no building,
Okay.
there's no the rest of the building, but there's not a.
It's the last building, like.
Yes, well, the history behind that is when they demoed the Little Flower Playground building, it was a temporary thing because the community wanted a replacement and ESCR money, or one of the strings of ESCR, allowed for them to demolish and convert to add the more open space because East River Park was closed. But the community still wants the community building built there.
So could you put in maybe 2 and 3 sentences that we still need this? You know, this is what happened.
That's
But
more-
it's,
in
you're saying
addition
that,
to this.
Oh, no, I guess that should cover it.
I just wanted to make sure that was still.
Yeah, it's still.
Okay, so that's still
So
good.
when I'm gone, please remember.
So-
Because it will.
What do you want to do with Baruch
Yes,
bathhouses?
can we say something like, just a little more honest about, I'm happy to write a
But it's
draft.
the district's need.
It's an unmet need.
Yeah.
You could probably put two sentences, maybe, Parks is in the process, but the community is looking for, activities and programming that, involves the community and something like that. We don't want an essay about what should be done.
No,
Parks is in the process of issuing, Parks has issued an REI in the process of.
This isn't gonna be published, this is for next year.
yeah.
So I think maybe just a sentence or two about the kinds of, what the community would like to see there. The unmet need is for what you mentioned.
With also the fact that is there no money? I mean, to do.
I mean, we're writing it.
That's not an unmet need for this.
So we need community.
We need money.
Community
No.
recreation,
No, we always need money.
community space, community recreation. Let's
Yeah.
see.
That
Is this the same topic?
It's district needs,
No, I mean, bathhouse.
not the bad.
Okay, so community space, community recreation,
who's writing this down?
I'll write it down.
Community engagement to hear what the community.
This is gonna be past the
And
engagement.
then,
So we're done with the bathhouse.
Okay.
Carla,
I'm gonna write.
Yes, sir.
Send it.
All right, on the rodents in park, I noticed Columbus Park is no longer on there.
So the rodents are coming tomorrow. The rodent burrows, I'm getting all that. The rats are coming tomorrow.
So,
Carolyn Bragdon is sending all the survey tomorrow,
so the survey will come out tomorrow,
and it'll all be plugged in.
so they'll be plugged in, including Columbus Park.
I didn't print,
Will
I
be
didn't-
added. Can I finish?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say I didn't print out the stuff.
Yeah,
that
I
was
was just trying to, so I was saying Columbus Park was on here, now it's no longer on there.
Because I didn't print, is it in? I didn't print everything.
Specific to the rodent thing or something else?
To the rodents, yeah,
Where, what page?
I mean, there's no study, no one did a study to
No,
see how many
basically,
percent the rodent burrows have increased.
She
But
said-
there's no, on a visual inspection every morning, the rodents have increased by
All right, so
60%.
what we will do is after Susan gets her information from tomorrow's meeting, we will add Columbus Park in the numbers.
She's just sending it. This is what was last year, so nothing was taken
I
off.
think was that the last month or month before, we were discussing this, I specifically wanted to add. Columbus.
And we said we were gonna wait until we got.
Done.
Our example, that's not full listen, huh? Our examples are not full listen.
All right, so that's all I have.
You may have done that and it wasn't captured, Carlin.
That's it? We adjourn?
The libraries, I discovered that I had forgotten to ask the libraries for their update, but I did that today.
all right.
And that I also didn't print out because there was nothing for you to
We
do
won't
with
fire
it.
that today.
All right, so we're gonna, if we can get started, we can get out of here in 1 minute.
There you
I
go.
make a motion to adjourn.
So we're going to adjourn the meeting. We'll do a roll call. Please be quiet for the roll call.
Trevor Holland,
Present.
Diane Lake. Present. Ryan Gillen, present. David Adams. August Costelli. Oh, man, sorry. Carlin Chan.
Here.
Catherine Freed. Here. Ellington Jones.
You say Valentino?
Yeah.
Present.
Nancy Long. Daisy Perez. Daniel Kano.
Present, or yes.
Zachary Thomas. Josie Velez. Josie. Yeah. Kay Webster.
Yes, present. Present. Kay
Robert
Webster.
Manian. Hal Burdette.
Thank you. That concludes our
Thank you.
meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.